a significant loan fee and cover wages. It means a reunion for Ferguson with Graham Potter, the manager who gave him his break at Brighton as a teenager. Ferguson was Potter's top target in the window, and he's got him. Ferguson will wear number 34 and has said this: seeing the stadium and being here today, I've got a very good feeling. I can see and know how big West Ham United is. It was a big opportunity for me to come here. I know the gaffer well and look forward to working under him again. I want to come in and do my best for the club, score goals and see where we get to. So, done deal, Nick.
Interesting news we're just getting about Mathys Tel, who's been of interest to Tottenham, Arsenal, Manchester United this window. Our colleagues at Sky Germany are telling us that he is on his way by plane to England. What does that mean? We'll discuss that, no doubt, through the afternoon. His agent has posted a picture of his departure, so maybe something is happening. It seems to be going quiet on the Mathys Tel front. Maybe it is not quiet after all. We will keep you in touch minute by minute as we get news of that. We have got that confirmation of the news, Jen and Jamie, of Evan Ferguson. Who wants to kick off? Jamie?
I think it's a really good signing, Nick. I think he's been out of favour at Brighton, hasn't played, hasn't featured loads this season, but he's a talented football player. You know, Graham Potter's had him before, and he wants him again. And, you know, I think it's a really good move for him. They need a striker. You know, Fulkrug at West Ham struggled with injuries. You know, we've seen Antonio obviously injured now as well, and they've really struggled to have that focal point up front. And I think for me, talented footballer, young, he's going to want to prove himself. I think it could be a really good deal.
He's played 236 minutes of football so far this season, so he feels like he needed a fresh start.
Yeah, he's also struggled with injuries. I know he made his return to play at the weekend against Forest, but I think it's hard when you're linked to really big clubs from a young age, and then it doesn't necessarily go the right way for you. Confidence is massive, and then I think if you're, you know, reunited with a manager that believes in you, that instilling that confidence, I think it's a really good move for him. You know, he's 20 years old. He's still got so much football left to be played, and hopefully that happens at West Ham.
If you look back 2 years, there was talk that he was interested in some of the really big clubs, with all due respect to Brighton and West Ham. Yes, go on. Get first Spurs mentioned the afternoon. There's going to be plenty more. Have you seen enough that he can get back to that kind of level?
Oh, yeah, I've definitely seen enough in terms of talent, in terms of, you know, what his attributes are as a footballer. You know, he's a young lad. He's 20, so he's still got loads of improving to do. You know, he's had injuries and he's struggled. And, you know, then you start, as a striker, you've got to score goals week in, week out. And, you know, if you're not playing and you're in and out of the team, it becomes frustrating for you. You can lose your confidence, bit of belief, you know, putting the ball in the back of the net. So I think I've seen enough of him in terms of him being a really good, top-quality Premier League striker. And, you know, if he can hit the ground running, get his confidence up with Graham Potter, who's going to believe in him and give him a chance, you know, that could be a top deal.
You've had times where you've been unavailable for all sorts of fitness reasons. Do you come back with feeling that your ability, not that your ability's gone, but your ability to deliver that on the pitch has gone?
No, I think it definitely changes you as a player. It depends how long you've been out, right? It can be a matter of weeks or longer-term injuries. The longer-term ones are definitely harder, but they allow you to give that time to reset and add things to your game. So, but of course, it takes a good few weeks, depending on how long you've been out, to hit the ground running and to get that sort of flow of, always say, momentum's huge in football. Week on week, playing week in, week out. That's what really drives you to get to the top of your game, and I think that's what Evan Ferguson needs probably at this point in his career.
Yeah. And for West Ham, absolutely no disrespect to Danny Ings, but I know that some West Ham fans have thought when they've seen Danny Ings come on, they think, is that all we've got? And Danny Ings has been a great, really useful striker, but it's not like he's going somewhere where there's enormous competition for places. You've got Antonio's still out.
He's out.
Bowen's been out.
Yeah, he's out. Fulkrug's out. So I think if he can, you know, prove that he's fit 100% and he can rely on him and he can get through 90 minutes, I think he'll start. I don't see why he wouldn't. You know, I think it'll be maybe the first couple of games he comes off the bench, find his feet. You know, hopefully gets a couple of chances and he can put one away. You know, you need an early tap in or something. You know, one that comes off the backside. You know, when you ain't played and you know, and you get yourself and you're on the score sheet and all of a sudden you're off and running. You know, but he knows now. You know, coming to the end of, you know, we're in February now, till the end of the season. He's got 4 months to really go for it and see what happens.
Good to see that you are off and running, Jamie and Jen. Thank you. Got some breaking news, guys.
We do indeed, Nick, and we were just about to go to both Arsenal and Manchester United. We had heard that update on Mathys Tel, that there had been a picture of him in a plane heading to England. We now think, Teddy, we know where he was heading.
Yeah, it's a bit vague, but now we can go to Michael Bridge, I believe, with the latest news. Come on in. Bridgie, what can you tell us?
Well, we say never on deadline day. This is absolutely incredible. My cameraman said, can you imagine Mathys Tel turning up here? And I went, can't see it. That was 7 a.m. But wow. Breaking news, according to my colleague Florian Petterberg in Germany, waiting for official confirmation, but Mathys Tel has done a U-turn and has said yes to Tottenham Hotspur. Quite incredible breaking news here. Get more on that shortly regarding any obligations or options. There are reports that there's no options or obligations, but what we do know, and there's a picture of his agent and Tel on a plane, and it looks like it's going to London potentially. That's what we're told, and not Manchester. But stay with us throughout the day and evening on Sky Sports News. Massive breaking news. Friday in Battersea, we told you Tel said thanks, but no thanks. I'm probably going to stay in Munich. He's changed his mind. Huge news. Mathys Tel on his way to Tottenham.
We love a development like that. We love the unexpected. Jen, you just feel, as Bridgie was hinting there, you just feel that Spurs need some kind of lift as much as they need the new talent.
Yeah, they do. I think, injuries have been a big problem at Spurs this season, and they're nowhere near sitting in the Premier League where they want to be at the moment. And, they're still in contention for 3 trophies, let's be honest. So there's still games, huge games to be played at that club. But I think everyone was waiting to see if they were going to, make a big signing, and, seeing Tel do a U-turn in the final moments is he at the Spurs training ground. It looks great for Spurs fans.
You're smiling. I've seen
smiling,
you so
yeah.
often in this seat being Mr. Grump for another bad day for Spurs. I've got a Tottenham grin out of you.
It'd be nice to have a bit of positivity. I always come in here when Spurs are playing,
would, yeah.
And we're always struggling. And it might, it could still be a good window. Do we get a couple of players in last minute? I thought Bridgie was going to be at the Spurs training ground freezing his towel off, nothing happening. But that's that could be a big move, and it's a big signing. You're going to spend money on him, or you're getting him on loan. He's going to add quality to the team. He's someone who potentially comes in and starts. So, look, Daniel Levy could still get it right. He's got time.
Would you like to see him come on loan just so you can sort of test the Tel water? Do we actually like this guy?
Well, look, that's always the way, isn't it? When the Premier League's a different beast. You've seen managers and players come to the Premier League and struggle. So it is a different beast. He's obviously a talented footballer, but I think if we can get him on loan with an obligation to buy in the summer if he does well, or maybe Daniel Levy's a shrewd businessman. He'll get the deal that works for Spurs, that's for sure. And look, it looks like maybe we can get it over the line, so it'll be happy days.
There's plenty of competition if people are fit, because the Spurs are not short of strikers on the books.
Yeah, no, I think Timo Werner and James Maddison, it's all small niggles, right? And nothing's long term, so they'll be back to fitness. I think Postecoglou said pretty short term, right? So, but I think everyone was still looking at this window and waiting to see if Spurs would bring in someone to kind of replace the sort of bigger injuries in that team. But
Richarlison's not good enough. He's not good enough. Richarlison, it's been a waste of money. He's not been good enough. I'm sorry. We need to look at elsewhere. For me, Son, I've said it before, he's been an unbelievable servant for Tottenham Hotspur Football Club, and he's still got something to offer, but he ain't the player that he was before. You need to look at re-signing players who can come in and do a better job. Richarlison's not the answer anymore. Solanke's picked up an injury which can see him out for a bit longer. So we need replacements. You do. You've got Brennan Johnson's been out for a while, and the backup to them players ain't good enough. But Richarlison, for me, I'll be trying to get him out the door.
What an interesting afternoon it threatens to be, promises to be. We'll keep you in touch. So, Arsenal, Manchester United, they were both interested in Tel, but they didn't pursue a deal. Listen, as far as we know, so what incomings are going to happen at those two clubs? Let's get to Sani Radravajula at Old Trafford, and also you'll see standing by for us Gary Cottrell at the Emirates. Gary, let me start with you. Tel, we don't think going to Manchester United. Tottenham, Arsenal, what are you thinking? What are you hearing?
Well, I'm just glancing down at my phone, Nick, as I wait to hear back from the latest from Arsenal, because I've asked them whether or not the situation with them has changed after that news that Mathys Tel is on a plane heading to London. I've not heard back from them, but I'd be very surprised if it has, because we heard earlier today that although they had shown some interest in the young striker, they weren't going to pursue any deal, and I think that is still the case. I think there were options, weren't there, for him to turn up here at the Emirates or at Old Trafford or at Stamford Bridge. Well, he's not going to turn up at the Bridge. He's going to turn up, it seems, with Michael Bridge at the Tottenham Hotspur training ground. A U-turn by the player. Arsenal never really leading the chase for him. He's not really, ideally, what they're looking for. They're looking for an out-and-out goal scorer, a 25-30 guaranteed a season man. Somebody like Ollie Watkins, who just senses where the goal is. It's his second nature. This youngster from... excuse me, this youngster that we're talking about, who is not really getting game time at Bayern Munich, isn't that. He plays on the left-hand side mainly. He can play down the middle, can Mathys, but he's more likely to be playing on the left-hand side. He can play on the right as well. Versatile, strong, tall, lots of pace, and a real prospect for the future. But he was always and also in the running for Arsenal rather than the first choice. So it seems that they're not going to pursue their interest in him, and he's on his way to London, but it seems still, as I look down, not here.
Gary, let's bring in Sani Radravachula, who's at Manchester United for us. Does Ruben Amorim need to bring in a forward before the window shuts at 11?
Well, I think it's absolutely fascinating because you've got Rasmus Højlund with no goals in 13, Joshua Zirkzee, no goals in 11. Both were not starting here at Old Trafford yesterday in a 2-0 defeat to Crystal Palace. You had Kobbie Mainoo playing as a false nine, which, you know, from the outside looking in, you'd assume Ruben Amorim is kind of telling the hierarchy, well, come on, guys, I need another option here because it's not working so far. But what I've been told is they won't be rushing into any panic buys, Man United. Me, Gary and Michael have all become Mathys Tel experts because we've all had the news that he might be coming our way. But he would have been an interesting prospect. But yeah, I think Man United do actually need an option. A lot of the fans would agree with that. The ones who are having the tours around us right now at Old Trafford would certainly do so. But by the sounds of things, they are not wanting to rush into any signings now. They want to plan for the summer transfer window. Yes, they've allowed Marcus Rashford to go out on loan, which has given them a lot of wiggle room PSR-wise because his wages are being covered elsewhere, or the majority are. But again, if the striker isn't available, they're not going to go for it. So, and by the way, that's despite, as well at the other end of the pitch, Lisandro Martinez going off injured yesterday, and they may be needing an option at the back. We have got Patrick Dorgu, who's come in from Lecce. He's a wide left winger. He can play on the right as well. He's kind of a left full-back, left wing sort of player, and he's got an eye for goal. He's very strong as well, and he's a player that Ruben Amorim has been keeping an eye on and works very hard for the team, which we know Amorim really likes. And they've also brought in Aidan Heaven, who's a centre-back for Arsenal. But strikers-wise, attacking-wise, looks like there's nothing coming here at Old Trafford at the moment.
Danny, thank you. Keep an eye on your phone.
Thank you, Nick. Potential breaking news for you involving Wolves and Leicester involving a swap deal.
Yeah, Dan Khan is at Molineux for us. A hive of activity so far on this transfer deadline day. Dan, keeping you busy. What about this swap deal then? What can you tell us?
Wolves are always involved on deadline day, aren't they? But in terms of this potential swap deal, understand there have been exploratory talks, initial talks between Wolves and Leicester over what would be a sensational swap deal between the former Wolves captain Conor Coady, who's of course currently at Leicester, and Craig Dawson, the Wolves centre-back who's also played at West Brom. A potential swap between those. And we know Leicester and Wolves have been looking to bolster, especially their defensive areas in this window. Both don't have the best defensive records this season. Understand talks are very, very early at this stage, and there's a lot of work to do before tonight's deadline for such a move to happen. But if it does come off. It would be an amazing return, especially for Conor Cody to come back to Molineux, because he was not very much fancied by former boss Bruno Lage a few years ago. He didn't necessarily get a goodbye to the Wolves fans. So if it does happen and Wolves are able to add a third centre-back in this window, with who we think Nasser Djiba should happen a bit later on today, it would end what would be a very good window for Wolves.
Be a fantastic story, wouldn't it, the comeback, Daniel? What can you tell us about the potential incomings as well of Marshall Munetsi and Nasser Djiba?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, both areas that Vitor Pereira has been adamant all window that he has wanted to reinforce, a centre-back and a midfielder. Marshall Munetsi, let's start with him. Looking at a fee of just around £16 million. Wolves have agreed a deal with French side Hans in principle for the midfielder. And Pereira has been very adamant this window especially that he wants to add a midfielder who can add a bit more physical quality in that area of the pitch. The likes of Andre and João Gomes all probably have a similar build, but I think Munetsi represents a different type of midfielder in that area. And then the other stands by Nasser Djiba, currently playing for Red Star Belgrade. I understand a fee in principle has been agreed, just under £10 million. He's been part of a very impressive Red Star Belgrade side who has stormed there domestically. They're currently leading the Serbian league by 19 points, but he's also featured in the Champions League. And although they've lost a few games against the likes of AC Milan and Barcelona, he's had a very good campaign on that front. And as Vitor Pereira tries to transition this side to a 3-4-2-1, they've already added one centre-back in Emmanuel Agbadou in that part of the pitch. But I think adding another centre-back with just getting Totti back from injury and giving a bit more flexibility with Matt Doherty, who is a right-back by trade, who has been playing as an emergency centre-back, really, it would just give Pereira a bit more flexibility. So it's all happening at Wolves, with a lot more to be done by this afternoon to complete those deals.
It could be a busy day, Daniel. Thank you for now.
What about this for a bit of deadline day news? Bayern Munich forward Mathys Tel is flying to England as we speak to try and wrap up a move to Tottenham Hotspur. More next.
striker that I think what we see in Haaland or other top strikers in the Premier League, and I think that's why, I mean, Mikel Arteta has made it pretty obvious from the start of this window that he's been on the hunt and that's what he's been looking for, and I think it will go down to the wire with who they bring in.
Yeah, he got very prickly when we talked about his need for a striker. He didn't like that phrase. He got O'Hara type prickly. I just want to show you a league table, which is the positions in the league, but also each team's top goal scorer as well. And you have to go a long, long way down the league before you find a team where the top scorer is at Arsenal.
Yeah, but I think Jen makes a really good point. You know, like Arsenal.
That's why she's here.
Yeah, you know, it's true. Like their goals of the whole team. You know, and they don't have. You know, like you look at Newcastle, you go Isak, Man City. You know, you go Haaland and Liverpool, Salah. But Arsenal do play a different way. It is about everyone creating chances for each other, and like, I think Havertz lacks a little bit of belief. You know, when he passed it back for Odegaard yesterday, when he pulls it back, there's no way Salah's doing that. There's no way Haaland's doing that. You know, they're putting that in the back of net for themselves, and they're taking a chance. They're not going to pull it back for Odegaard to tap him for himself. It's just not going to happen. So I think he has a little bit of. He doesn't have that ruthless streak that strikers have got. I always remember Jermaine Defoe. He was ruthless. He'd never pass it to you. You know, if he had a chance to have a shot from anywhere, you know, even if it wasn't on, he'd shoot. But that's why they scored so many goals, because that was their nature. And I think Kai Havertz is a bit like Ozil in a way, where he'd rather set you up and get an assist and have a goal contribution. Strikers don't think about goal contributions, they think about goals. And that's all that matters to them. But Arsenal, you know, they've all chipped in with goals this season. So I think he's done well, Havertz. And I can see why Arteta gets the hump with it a little bit. We all sit here and say they should have that player, they should get that player. But I think Arteta's probably quite happy with what they're doing right now.
It comes down to depth, right, isn't it? Like Gabriel Jesus being out injured, Saka, huge injury blow as well. When you've got players like that missing, if you're looking at a club like Arsenal that want to chase the Premier League and want to be winning trophies, you have big injuries like that in your forward line, you're bringing in a striker.
You have to have the squad. At Manchester United, Marcus Rashford hasn't even been in the squad this season. And Paul Merson said a little bit earlier on our deadline day coverage on Sky Sports News that Ruben Amorim's job is on the line. If Marcus let me finish. If Marcus Rashford's a success at Villa, if he gets, let's say, 9-10 goals between now and the end of the season, which he's got the ability to do, doesn't Amorim look dangerously embarrassed?
I think Marcus Rashford could embarrass Manchester United, absolutely, and Amorim, because Amorim took a stance on him. You know, I think Rashford's attitude in training, you know, was a telltale sign that he wanted away. I don't blame everything on Amorim. You know, if he's got a player there who doesn't really want to be involved, he's coming out saying he wants to leave. What choice does he have? I think Manchester United wanted him off the wage bill as well. You know, I think they wanted him to move on, and I think he maybe needed a fresh start. Let's see what Marcus Rashford does. But let me tell you, Manchester United are in disarray. I mean, their forward line is championship level, is nowhere near good enough. You know, they have not performed. Xerxes should not have a Manchester United shirt on. Ahmad has been the only bright spark this season for them. Garnacho's been poor. He looks like his head's going the other way. And Højlund doesn't look like he can hit a barn door. So, for me, they've let their best striker go. So if they don't get, if Aston Villa get the best out of it, and I think they will, because Unai Emery is a top manager, they could be left with egg on their face massively, Man United.
If they don't bring anybody in today, what do you make of Manchester United's transfer window this January?
Confusing, to say the least. I think especially Amorim's been so vocal as well about not having the players, right? I've seen that a lot in the media of what he's saying in his press conferences, and for him to not take this opportunity of kind of not bringing in the players he really wants and letting go of one of Manchester United's top strikers, regardless of form or training ability or attitude in that. I think it would be a confusing one for the fans to see if they don't bring in sort of more quality in that area, especially in the forward line, like Jamie's spot on with how their forward line looks and performances, and look at a 2-0 defeat against Crystal Palace. You'll have every fan watching deadline day waiting to see who they'll bring in.
Is there a counter-argument to say it's an awful window to do business in for the most part? It's very rare to get a really good January.
Well, to get a striker.
There's been one. To get a striker is really hard.
Yeah.
They're not going to get anywhere near honours this season. They're not going to go down. Is there an argument to say, which is really what they're doing, we wait for the summer and we try and get better value in the summer?
Yeah, that's all right for Ratcliffe to say, but what about the manager? You know, he must be sitting there pulling his hair out. He's left Sporting Lisbon where he's guaranteed to win, and he's come to a club and they're saying, oh, you know, we'll wait till the summer. If I'm the manager and I'm the players, I'd be saying, hold on, we need some help here. You know, you've brought me in to play a formation. You said I had to leave Sporting Lisbon, it was now or never. And then you're not going to help me out when I need help. Like, you know, he's damaging his reputation. He's damaging his credit in the bank that he's got with the fans. Every single week that they get beat at home and the system that they play, they haven't got the players for. And the attacking players that they've got haven't performed and they're not good enough to be a Man United player. So it's all right saying, yeah, we'll wait till the summer. Well, you can't wait till the summer because by that point, the fans have turned. And he could be on his way out. So I would be demanding players now. I'd be knocking on doors saying, you brought me in, I need players. You've got to get some over the line.
First question definitely goes next time to Jen, otherwise it'll be the O'Hara show, and we don't want that. We've been talking Manchester United. We're going to talk Manchester City in a second. Terrible day for them at the Emirates yesterday, but they're moving closer to a deal for Porto midfielder Nico Gonzalez. What's the latest? We're live at their training ground next.
Just free. Yeah. Should we send you a...
Yeah, send them across, mate. Great, thank you.
No worries.
Welcome back to Sky Sports News on deadline day. No doubt the big breaking news of the hour is that the deal between Tottenham and Mathys Tel looks to have progressed, Teddy, quite dramatically in the last 15 minutes or so, hasn't it?
It has absolutely so. Let's go back to the Tottenham training ground where Michael Bridge awaits us. And understand, Michael, you've got some fresh information on why Tell changed his mind about a move to North London.
Yeah, what an unbelievable story this is turning out to be. Remember, Friday in Battersea, we said our information was that Mathys Tel said, thank you for the offer, but no thank you, I want to stay at Bayern Munich. Then we had talk all the weekend about whether he was going to move or not. Then our colleague Florian was talking about maybe he was going to stay in Germany. And then all of a sudden, wow, that photo of his agent. But where's the destination? The destination, London, London City Airport, London Stansted, who knows? But all Spurs fans probably think, who cares? All they care about is where he ends up, and it looks like Tottenham Hotspur. Now, my understanding is Ange Postecoglou had a long conversation with Tell on how they will use him. The player liked what he heard and has changed his mind. It's very similar to when James Maddison joined Spurs the other summer, and he said that it was just the conversation they had. He was umming and ahhing between a few clubs, and he sat down with him. So, look, Spurs might not be doing great in the table at the moment, but there's a lot to play for. And of course, well, whoever's doing the press conference here on Wednesday, they can look forward to asking Ange Postecoglou, what did you say? I'm sure in that conversation there was mate. And before I go, there's definitely an understanding that there is no way Jamie O'Hara needs those glasses.
Thank you, Michael. We'll pass it on. He's listening.
Well, let's talk about that line that it's a long chat with Ange Postecoglou that has changed his mind. Have you experienced that, a manager who can be that persuasive?
Yeah, I think it's big, and it's probably something that's underestimated in football when you're thinking about a club or thinking about the potential style of football that a club might play. But ultimately, when you speak to coaches and when you speak to managers as player and you get a good feeling, that can sometimes be the selling point. Don't put money to the side for a second. It's a feeling that you get from a coach or a manager if they really trust in you, they know your game. And I'm Scottish. I know his stories from his Celtic days, and the kind of motivational speaker that he gives in those kind of deliveries are further unbelievable. So I can totally believe that. But 100% from a personal perspective, having spoken to certain managers before signing, that ultimately is a feeling you get when you're talking to the club and knowing the ambition they have or the trust that you can get from even just one conversation, honestly, because these things happen fast, but it can happen quickly within that one conversation. You can have your mind swayed.
Who was the most persuasive manager you dealt with?
Well, most of the managers trying to persuade me to leave. Weren't trying to persuade me to sign. But yeah, no, look, Jen's absolutely right. You sit down and have that conversation. It's got to that point where Andrew's, got on the phone and had a good conversation with him, and obviously, he said, look, what he can offer him is say, look, you're going to be fantastic facilities, fantastic football stadium, and we're going to play decent football. You know that because that's the facts at Spurs. So it hasn't been good at the moment with the results, but he still believes in the project, Ange Postecoglou, and he's still going to be positive about bringing the players in that he wants, and it could be exciting times for him. It's a good opportunity.
And presumably, this all tells us that Daniel Levy, talking of belief, still believes in Ange Postecoglou, because this wouldn't be happening unless they think that Postecoglou is there. So for the, at least the medium term.
Oh, for sure. I think if he's the one having those big conversations at a really crucial time for the club, then absolutely, Daniel Levy is 100% still putting his trust in Postecoglou, and I think that speaks volumes when things like that in the media are coming out of those conversations being that important to get a deal over the line. That kind of speaks volumes.
Yeah, that's massive.
Jen Beattie and Jamie O'Hara with us on Deadline Day. More from them throughout the next couple of hours.
Well, the other big developing story we've had this hour has come from Manchester City. Ben Ransom is there for us. Ben, they're closing in on their midfield target of Nico Gonzalez. They're closing in. How close?
Yeah, it feels like this one is now moving in the right direction. We told you earlier that the clubs were talking again this morning to try and come to an agreement on the fee. That's been the big sticking point. Porto have been holding out for the full €60 million. That's around £50 million release clause. City didn't want to pay that. They've been talking today. Well, I'm told they're now moving towards an agreement. It's not confirmed yet. It's not completely agreed, but it is heading that way, which sounds like there's been a breakthrough between the clubs. Now, whether it is the fee, whether it's the structure of the fee, we've been speaking earlier, if you remember, about how Barcelona having a sell-on clause from his move from Barca to Porto being a factor in this as well. We know Barcelona's financial issues well documented. You can imagine they'd want to get as much money as they can out of this deal up front. We also told you about how Porto holds some cards in the sense that they can reduce the 40% sell-on fee to 20% with a €6 million payment. So there's been lots of maths and calculations, I'm sure, going on between the clubs, between all three of those clubs behind the scenes. But certainly it sounds as though this move is now getting closer. Personal terms for the midfielder not thought to be an issue. Now, he's a really interesting one in the sense that this is a player that Manchester City have scouted for as long as Pep Guardiola's been here. His dad, Fran Gonzalez, used to play for Deportivo La Coruña. He was actually an employee of the academy here some 6 or 7 years ago. That's how long they've looked at this player. They tried to sign him twice as a schoolboy. Perhaps now, at the age of 23, Manchester City may get their hands on Nico Gonzalez.
Ben, thank you.
Promise you to keep you in touch with developments about Mathys Tel minute by minute. We've just heard that he has landed, the Bayern Munich forward, at Farnborough Airport in Hampshire. Not a very long drive to London, a very popular airport for elite sports people to use. Jamie O'Hara is nodding as though he's an elite sports person as well. But that is what is, no one doubts it, but that is what has happened. So he is in England. You've heard it here. We're going to keep you in touch minute by minute on the Mathys Tel move to Tottenham, which we heard about this hour.
Of course, for Chelsea and West Ham, not just deadline day to focus on. They're playing the Monday Night Football live on Sky Sports Premier League. Our chief reporter, Kaveh Solokol, is at Stamford Bridge. Kaveh, afternoon. Are Chelsea doing any business on deadline day?
Well, interestingly, they were one of the clubs who were after Mathys Tel. I think the first time we heard his name being mentioned this window was about Chelsea monitoring him. Now, the airport he's just landed at, Farnborough, is not very far from Chelsea's training ground in Cobham. But unfortunately, as far as Chelsea supporters are concerned, we have no information whatsoever that Chelsea have made a late move for Mathys Tel. The news really coming out of Stamford Bridge today is about players leaving. The biggest name, I think, who will be on his way is João Felix. Now, the player wants to move on loan. He wants to go to AC Milan. There are reports in Italy that he was actually at the Milan-Inter game last night. And Sky Italy, just in the last few minutes, are reporting that a deal has been agreed in principle for him to move on loan from Chelsea to Milan. Interestingly, his agent is Jorge Mendes, same agent as the agent of the Milan manager Sergio Conceição. Other outgoings today, Carney Chukwuemeka, he's in Dortmund, he's having his medical, he's moving to Borussia Dortmund on loan. They have an option to buy him for around £40 million in the summer. And finally, Ben Chilwell, he's very close to completing his loan move to Crystal Palace for the rest of the season.
Yep, good to see Chilwell playing again, hopefully. Kaveh, thank you for now. Tel on his way to Spurs, and in another loan move, Marcus Rashford has joined Aston Villa. We'll be live to Villa Park next.
in Manchester United forward Marcus Rashford. Let's get to Kirsty Edwards, who's at Villa Park for us. Kirsty, very good afternoon to you. We reported yesterday that a move for Marco Asensio was close. What a front line Aston Villa could end up with.
Yeah, absolutely. And that deal may be helped by another deal that's happening. Fabrizio Romano has actually pointed out that Sherandour's move to Fiorentina is freeing up a loan spot for PSG. So that could really help with Villa getting this deal for Marco Asensio over the line. He brings a wealth of experience if he does come. Of course, 3 times Champions League winner with Real Madrid. When he left Real Madrid in 2023, Unai Emery actually wanted to sign him then for Villa, but he opted for PSG, not been getting the game time that he has wanted this season, though. So very much available to Villa and very much looking like he will finally be their man. A player that essentially we'll see out on the right all through the middle, predominantly left-footed, and as you say, will join Marcus Rashford and also Donyell Malen, who they signed earlier in the window. So yeah, that is looking exciting stuff up front. In terms of defensively, will they have time to get anything over the line? In that respect, a centre-back was needed. The fans were certainly calling for another centre-back because they are short in that respect at the moment because of injuries. But at the moment, all quiet on that front.
OK, thanks, Kirsty. Lots of attacking options, though, as you say. What about Marcus Rashford's shirt number? What is it?
Yes, well, it's actually going to take some getting used to, isn't it, seeing Marcus Rashford in anything but a Manchester United shirt. But yeah, he'll have a new number as well. Number 9 he will be for Aston Villa. That shirt becomes available because of John Duran's departure. So yeah, Villa's new number 9 is Marcus Rashford, and he's been giving his first interview since joining the club as well.
Definitely excited. You know, it's an ambition for this club and a great opportunity for me to join for this club and the team. A great opportunity for me to join forward. So I'm excited. Can't wait for the first training session and obviously the first game. The first training session.
Although you're here on loan, this is the first time you've known the likes of Tyrone Mings, Ezri Konsa, Ross Barkley, Ollie Tyrone Mings, Ez Watkins from the England squad to help you settle in there.
Definitely. Like you said, it's obviously my first time playing for any other team, so you don't really know what to any other team, so expect. But I've not really been scared of coming into a new. I've not really been scared environment, coming into a new. With them lads being there, it's definitely good.
Why Aston Villa?
I think they're a club that's in a good position in the league and they're pushing to get higher. Still in the Champions League, Good manager, ambitious manager, great talent in the squad, and I've had it in the squad to choose like my style of football is suited to and can help me rediscover and improve as a player. Obviously, it's only short term that I'm here as a player. Obviously, I want to make the most of my time here, and yeah, the only way to do that is by using my attributes. Yeah, the only way to do that is by.
So, Marcus Rashford done. Marco Asensio potentially edging closer. Watch this space.
We will do, Kirsty. Thank you very much.
Well, let's discuss that space with my guests, Jen Beattie and Jamie O'Hara, who spent many a soccer Sunday talking about Marcus Rashford in a fairly negative sense. But here's a chance to be positive about him. And as Kirsty was alluding to, lots of attacking options for Villa now.
Yeah, I have to say, as a Spurs fan, I'm jealous that the business that they're doing, and the players that they're attracting now to the football club. You're talking about Marcus Rashford, a top player who's been a top player international at Manchester United. Being able to get that over the line. You're talking about Asensio coming in, who for me I think's been a really good player. Loved him at Real Madrid. Picked up a bad injury. If they can get that over the line, again another really good deal. So it is really well done from Aston Villa.
OK, hold that thought. I want to bring you some more on Mathys Tel, who's been the main topic of conversation since the news that broke just after 2 o'clock here on Sky Sports News on deadline day. Amazing about turn. Mathys Tel on his way to England this afternoon. He's landed at Farnborough Airport in Hampshire, which Jamie tells me is a sure sign that he's going to Tottenham. But we know that already because Sky's Florian Plettenberg broke that story in Germany, and there he is live in our studios in Munich. Guten Tag, grüß Gott. There is Florian. What are the details as you have them right now?
Servus, mein Freund aus München. That means servus from Munich, my friend. And first of all, I haven't broken anything. We have broken it in a Sky team, and my heart is broken because I'm feeling that I'm getting 37 years old. So busy day, yeah. My heart attack is near. As you have said, we have exclusively revealed the massive turnaround for Mathys Tel. Let's go back 2 or 3 days. Daniel Levy, he has been in Munich. He has spoken to Mathys Tel and to his agent Gadiri Camara. And after a while, Mathys Tel came back to the table and he said, sorry, Mr. Levy, I will not join Tottenham. I don't feel the project. This is not the right step for me. Okay, Daniel Levy said sorry for that. He was flying back home to London without Mathys Tel. Then there have been the negotiations between Manchester United about a loan deal with FC Bayern. The negotiations have been off last night. And now the massive turnaround. Mathys Tel has reached an agreement with Tottenham about a loan deal. And he has already arrived now in London to undergo his medical with Tottenham. To our information, it's a straight loan until the end of the season with no obligation, with no option to buy. It's a straight loan in order to get gain and match practice. And honestly, I think this is a very good solution for Mathys Tel, for Tottenham and for FC Bayern.
We've got about 30 seconds left. Florian, why did he change his mind? Why is he after all coming to Tottenham?
Honestly, I think that he has reconsidered his decision, and he was in talks with Arsenal, with Chelsea, with Tottenham. And I'm totally convinced that in the end, Spurs have presented the best project in order to get match practice. And this is the most important for striker Mathys Tel. Now it's up to Postecoglou to place him in the right position. He's not a winger. Tottenham, please, he's not a winger. He's a striker. Let him strike, let him score goals.
Brilliant, Florian, thank you.
Just time to tell you more breaking news. AC Milan close to agreeing a loan deal for Chelsea's Joao Felix. Milan have held an interest in Felix throughout this transfer window.
Yeah, Portugal international, 1 Premier League goal this season, is said to be in Italy. Was watching the Milan derby yesterday at the San Siro. Sky Italy report Chelsea are only open to a loan with an obligation to buy. We'll update you next on all the latest deals here on Deadline Day.
You're a bit.
It wasn't that game, it was the Tottenham game.
Well, actually, Jamie, you made the point before the game in saying that he was, for you, the key man. If he turned up, that you didn't feel that City's midfield could live with him.
Listen, that's not anything special to say. I think we've seen that, you know, in the last few weeks, whoever City have came up against. But I almost feel it sometimes that I'm almost one of Declan Rice's biggest supporters, because I do find myself scratching my head when I see people criticise him and you sort of asking for more goals and assists. Now, I know the game in the last sort of 10, 15 years, especially on the show that we do tomorrow night, Monday Night Football, we look at numbers and analyse things. And I think when you played alongside Patrick Vieira and Emmanuel Petit were behind you in midfield, they were two of the greatest midfield players in the world at that time, and two of the greatest midfield players we've ever seen in the Premier League. I don't remember anyone talking about how many goals or assists they got. Now, they chip in, they didn't get a lot, probably 5 or 6 a season. For me, Declan Rice is one of those type of all-round midfield players, a little bit like Roy Keane, a little bit. And he said he's playing in the number 8 position, so he's playing a little bit higher. But for me, he's almost like a throwback to a midfield player who used to play in a 4-4-2 system. He could do a bit of everything. Now, for me, I think he's a wonderful player. I think his passing range is vastly underrated. You see that with the pass he put out there. But I see him in terms of build-up and getting on the ball, his power, everything about him, his pressing early on. He's just, for me, he's an absolute, a wonderful midfield player.
An outstanding performance, player of the match, a couple of assists and a pre-assist as well. That you
Roberto Martinez.
And you could obviously sense that Declan's really keen to build on his numbers. The numbers very much went against Manchester City today, a 5-1 defeat. How would you sum up the City team that we saw in the last 30 minutes or so of that game?
It's exactly the same team that I saw against Feyenoord, the same team that I saw against Brentford. At the end, the same team that I saw, you know, I mean, I can name...
What is that?
What is that is when they pass an hour, I will go back to what you said, the intensity of the game, you need to be able to run. And I've played on the Pep. To be able to stay there for 90 minutes, putting pressure, deal with the transition, it's not easy. And can we, in bracket, give them a pass? That's the first year that they cannot do it. You know, I think that's the first year also we can challenge Pep in terms of the player that he brought, comparing to the players that he had. He had Alvarez, he had Mahrez, he had Cole Palmer. He decided to go to other guys that it didn't work. Do I feel sorry? You were asking the question to I think to you, Micah, before. Do I feel sorry about what's happening to Man City and Pep? Yeah, I do. In one thing, it's not easy to deal with what Pep has to deal with outside of football. I went through that when I went to Barcelona. It's not easy to deal with stuff like that when you're not well mentally. You can see that he's not his usual self. Having said that, if we go back on the field at new football...
So you're talking about his personal life?
Yeah, personal life. I had to deal with it when I went to Barcelona. I can tell you it's not easy. No one will like to deal with that while you have to perform all the time. So I think we can understand. Now, if you go back on the field, it's not good enough. It is not good enough. I don't think that they can cope whenever a team can deal with playing them all the way to 90 minutes and challenge them and looking them in their eyes all the way. They cannot deal with it at the minute.
I came here today trying to build a case for Manchester City. I said they were the top scorers in Europe, just behind Barcelona and Real Madrid in 2025. Their Premier League form was improving again. They made some signings. But actually, have we seen today this is the end of an era for this?
No, I wouldn't say end of an era, maybe coming to an end. I just think we have to be realistic about it. I think Jamie made a good point about it months ago now, saying they might struggle for top 4, sort of laughed it off a little bit. And he was talking about the energy and the intensity. It's not there. But the thing that I'm looking at more with Man City is on the ball. Normally they starve the opposition of the ball. They did okay in the first half. In the second half, they was giving away easy passes, individual mistakes. Foden, he's so good on the ball, but just taking that risk. Akanji, whether he's playing out, whether it was Haaland. We didn't see Haaland again today, apart from his goal. I want him to be more aggressive. I want him to make more runs. I want him to be, you know, giving his team an option as well. So there's so many different things that are going on with Man City at this moment in time. And it is sad to see because, yeah, I don't expect him to win the league every year, but the fall-off has been so dramatic. It's sort of sad to see what's going on, but they'll bounce back.
But they still could have a say in this title race. Still got to play Liverpool. Let's then look through the 6 goals and the key incidents of this game here at the Emirates this afternoon, starting with Arsenal flying out to the traps. Did this almost set the tone? Do we see Arsenal's game plan right here?
Yeah, we know Arsenal like to press and leave numbers up, but again, John Stones, Kandi's really got nowhere to go. It's a bad mistake, and then they get punished from it. And I'm just thinking, use your brains a little bit. You know what Arsenal want to press and sort of make a trap for you, and then he's got no option. Takes a bad touch.
What about that from Declan Rice? That little bounce.
That's what you love, don't you, Jane? The one time
the pre-assist.
Which I think, is certainly key. And the fact he's got a good relationship with Mikel Arteta. Mikel Arteta spoke about that and spoke about how he worked with him. So that also helps as a player. If you're a player that's maybe a little bit low in confidence, you've not been playing, you've just been told that you're not in the team when you think you are, because all the way through pre-season you've been there and you think that Chelsea's going to be your club. Suddenly that doesn't happen. Then you need that relationship with the manager, so I think they'll probably get the best out of him. And we all know that Sterling, on his day, can be electric. So the competition for places, yes, they've got players in those positions, but the fact that he can play right across the front line, he can play in the 10 if you want, he can play in the 9, so it just gives Mikel Arteta different options.
Yeah, and the good thing is you're not just looking at that particular player that comes in, it's what that player does to everyone else, whether he facilitates better performances from the other players, whether he gives them a bit of a kick up the backside, to be brutally honest. And what we spoke about, what we saw so much last season about Arsenal not getting to where they believe they should have gone, of course it's tough because they were getting hunted down and led along by Manchester City. Someone like this who's done it, who's managed to win things like this, part of that existing group of players already, it can affect the chemistry in such a positive way. I'd like to think as well, no matter what he's won, no matter how much money he's got, he's still a young player that can have several years left at the very top level. That's his motivation.
Well, he still must be hungry to go and play football.
Completely.
Because he could quite easily, for 3 years, if he doesn't love playing football, just sits there and go on, keep paying me, no problem. I'll sit in the reserve dressing room, no problem. I'll turn up, I'll get my money, I'll go home to my family. Yeah. But you've got to remember, these footballers love playing football. We all did it. It's the best job you'll ever do. Yeah. So for him to take all the money home, he's got that. You never get your years back of playing football, and if he gets this opportunity to go to Arsenal, imagine he's played for Liverpool, Man City, Chelsea, Arsenal.
England.
In England, the experience that he can give in that.
I love the fact as well we talk about how close it is. I presume his relocation fee is still pretty minimal. Standardised across. I mean, he won't be able to fork out for the movers, will he?
Too funny. No.
And of course, you've now got a situation where he's reunited with Mikel Arteta, and who are they trying to topple? Manchester City, the side where the two of them first worked together. It's intriguing, isn't it? Thank you for now, guys.
OK, a little bit of breaking news regarding a former Chelsea Academy player, and that's Tammy Abraham, of course. AC Milan have signed him from AS Roma on a loan deal. He signed a contract with the club until June the 30th, 2025, and he's going to wear the number 90 shirt. So that's Tammy Abraham on the move again to AC Milan. Right, let's get to Adama Sheth, because he joins me now to talk more about Arsenal, because obviously lots of players still moving about in this window. So what's the latest on Reiss Nelson? Is he going anywhere?
It certainly looks that way. In the last hour, we told you that 4 clubs were interested in signing Reiss Nelson on loan. 4 clubs were in talks with Arsenal over signing Reiss Nelson on loan. The growing feeling now is that Ipswich have emerged from the pack, and they are in advanced talks now with Arsenal over a loan signing for Reiss Nelson. Time is of the essence, though. There's less than 2 hours to go to get this deal done. But there is a confidence and a cautious optimism, let's put it that way, that Ipswich can get this deal over the line. And it will continue what's been a really ambitious summer transfer window for Ipswich so far. They're trying to go for it in this Premier League, and they're bringing in players, A, for the short term, so that they can have a real go at staying up in the Premier League. And if it isn't to work out for them, goodness me, they'll have a fantastic squad to bounce straight back up if it doesn't happen. But look, 36 games to go. Reiss Nelson could be on his way to Portman Road.
Yeah, and just a word on Armando Broja. Is that one kind of feels like that one's as a result?
I mean, that was on, then it was off because there was an issue with the medical. They resumed talks, but then they said they weren't expected to sign him. Today, reopening of talks between the 2 clubs to see if they could find an initial loan and renegotiate on the obligation fee, which was initially a club record £30 million. But because of the issues with the medical, Ipswich wanted to renegotiate for a much lower cost. As it stands, it doesn't look like the Broja one is going to happen. So it's gone on, off, on, off, on, off.
I'm glad you can keep up with it. All right, look, don't forget, there's also a host of live sport for you tonight as well. As we speak, the FedEx Cup is live. That's on Sky Sports Golf. We've got the US Open over on Sky Sports Tennis as well. Luton up against QPR in the Championship on Sky Sports Football. And last but not least, as you see here, the league leaders Hull KR host Salford in the Super League, and that's live on Sky Sports Action. So loads of live sport for you. But what about here, though? Up next, the latest on Ivan Toney's situation. He's completed his Al Ahly medical. So, is he off to Saudi Arabia? That's right, since Carlos Forbes has arrived at Wolves training ground, but can they get this deal over the line?
Get up to £400 off package holidays. Book now. Search EasyJet Holidays. Get out there.
Last hour or so, Raheem Sterling loan deal talks ongoing with Arsenal, and they are now advancing. Yeah, and this was very interesting, wasn't it? Here's what Mikel Arteta said about Sterling last week.
I can talk with my time with Raheem. That was exceptional. I think we built a really strong relationship together. He was unbelievable at the time that we were together, and he taught me a lot as well about the individuals, how the players think, how we give them support and help them, and he's someone that I really have strong feelings about.
It was interesting stuff, and that was only a week ago. Right, plenty more on that Sterling story to come, but our cameras have caught Ivan Toney out and about today. Let's go live to Paul Gilmore, who is in Brentford for us, which is practically just down the road from us. And he is live there for us, also in the dark, but not in the dark about Ivan Toney. What more can you tell us?
Well, Vicky, Ivan Toney has completed his medical in London today ahead of a £40 million move to Al Ahly in Saudi Arabia. There have been no problems with that medical. So the 28-year-old England international, someone at the very peak of his powers and a scorer of many goals, and somebody who's guaranteed goals, isn't he, over a season in this competitive division, is looking like he's off to Saudi Arabia. So, as I mentioned, a £40 million fee. He has been there today. He wasn't even here at the training ground today. He has spent the day in London doing that medical. Other aspects of this, you think of his former club, Peterborough. They will be looking on at this deal with interest because they will get a certain percentage of the profit. So too Newcastle United for in terms of developing him and the clubs he's played at in his career, that they too will benefit from this. It's also my understanding that there has been no kind of last-minute dramatic interest from any Premier League club tonight in terms of trying to just make a serious attempt to try and sign Ivan Toney before he completed this Saudi Arabia move. So it's a significant deal. It's a very makes him a very wealthy footballer in terms of what he will be on wages-wise, upwards of £350,000 a week to go and play in Saudi Arabia. But it is this evening, Ivan Toney is on the verge of that £40 million move to Al Ahly.
Yes, fascinating. You mentioned the fact that no other Premier League club has come in for Ivan Toney, which may cause a few eyebrows to be raised at that. But in terms of the money being spent by Brentford, are they already spending it then? Is somebody coming in at Brentford?
They have made a signing today. It's a young player, Jayden Makoma. He has represented England up to under 18 level, but it's not a youth signing, if you like. This is somebody who's coming in to be a part of their first team squad, and Thomas Frank had high praise indeed for him, saying he's one of the biggest left back talents this country has. So Thomas Frank clearly delighted to get this signing made today. We spent some time with him, we spoke to him. You can see that interview on the Sky Sports platforms, and we saw him kind of going through the usual, getting the photographs taken and all of those things that come with signing at a new club. So he's joined from Southampton, a 4-year contract with the option to add another 2 onto that. So Thomas Frank clearly delighted, and he will provide cover for Rico Henry, and they feel that somebody who has a bright future in and around their first team.
OK, thank you very much, Paul.
Right then, let's discuss Ivan Toney as we await news of his departure, it seems, from English football. I'll start with you this time, David. Quite a few people sort of looking down their nose at this decision, it seems, from Toney to sort of turn his back on the Premier League and head for Saudi Arabia at this stage of his career. What do you think?
Footballing-wise, totally agree. He'll earn the type of money, though, without sounding too cynical, that will set him and generations of his family up for quite a long time. That's me talking as an older ex-pro of advanced age. But the footballing side of it, it's miles away from what the Premier League is, and we've seen players go out there. I was listening to a discussion earlier on today about players that played in the recent Euros that have got experience and are out in Saudi. Different age bracket of player, different profile of player. I think we're talking about like Kante, Ronaldo, etc. I think it's a shame for English football if he goes there. But as I said, the cynic in me says it's something that will categorically transform his life and many lives to come, but also as well his journey to where he's got to. He's had to fight, he's had to scrabble, he's had to get his way through different barriers and through different challenges, and wherever he ends up, you wish him all the best. But footballing, can't understand it at all, financially, completely.
So he's set to leave English football behind. Does he also leave his chances of playing for England behind when he moves to Saudi Arabia?
I think he would have had to consider that, knowing that by going there, the standard of football is not going to be as strong or as competitive as the Premier League. So the opportunity maybe to stay within that England squad will have gone down. So I completely agree with what Prutz has said there. It's from a financial perspective, yes, of course, it would be so difficult to turn that sort of money down. But then I suppose when you look at his age, 28, 29, could have potentially, we don't know what offers were on the table, if there were offers in the Premier League clubs, because he's always spoke about wanting to go to a top-end club. He wants to challenge for trophies. So that's a shame that he's not going to be able to do that. But we know he's a top quality striker with lots of key attributes. I think from a Brentford perspective, they've probably looked at it and gone, well, he's got a year left on his contract. We don't want him to go on a free. They've got cover. They've showed that they've got cover as long as everybody stays fit and available. I know they brought in Igor Thiago, who he's got injured. They obviously brought him in as a replacement. So whether that put a little bit of a spanner in the works, but yeah, it's from a financial perspective, of course, it's going to set him and his family up for a long, long time.
And he's had that medical today, so that is one of the moves we are watching this evening.
OK, let's get to Wolves, because they're hoping to do a few more deals before the deadline, and they're running out of time, you'd have to say, because they've only got 1 hour and 32 minutes to do it. Daniel Kahn can bring us right up to date with players leaving and players coming in. What's happening there, Dan?
Yeah, absolutely. And good evening, Vicky. I mean, it looks like potentially 3 players in, 3 players out on deadline day for Wolves. And just a short time ago, we saw Carlos Forbes, winger from Ajax, just arrive here at Compton. We can bring you those pictures exclusively now. And he got to meet the sporting director, Matt Hobbs. He just travelled today, just a few hours ago, from Amsterdam. He joins the club on a season-long loan. We're expecting that announcement for later this evening. There's an option to buy as well, 11.3 million. And as you mentioned, there's only an hour, just over an hour until the deadline. But I think the club are very calm about getting that deal complete. We brought you the news this morning that Sam Johnston completed his deal from Crystal Palace, £10 million from Palace. Also, Andre, the Brazilian midfielder from Fluminense, he's been undergoing his medical this afternoon. Again, expecting that deal to be done well in time for the deadline. In terms of departures, just run through them very quickly. Daniel Podence, he's on his way out to Saudi, going to Al Shabab in a deal worth £5 million. Also, Fabio Silva, Chiquinho, they're going to Spain on season-long loans. No obligations or options to buy, but just worth noting, although we are getting down to that deadline, Vicky, the club are still working on a potential addition as centre-back. They're really trying. Gary O'Neill told me this afternoon, the sports recruitment team with Matt Hobbs leading them will be trying until the very last minute to get that last addition. We'll wait and see.
Yeah, we certainly will indeed. Daniel, thank you so much. Right, we will focus on Manchester United next, though. Scott McTominay, of course, left to a hero's welcome there in Naples. But have they already lined up a replacement for him? Stay with us for that next. Right, Dharmesh Sheth has just joined me on set because, Dharmesh, I do believe you've got some breaking news from Manchester United. What can you tell us?
Breathe, Manchester United fans, because there was this huge delay, what felt like a huge delay. When is the signing of Manuel Ugarte going to be announced? It's announced.
Okay.
Manuel Ugarte is a Manchester United player. He's joined from PSG. A reminder of the deal, it's a €50 million initial fee, plus €10 million in performance-related add-ons. He's a player we've been talking about throughout the whole of this summer transfer window. He was Manchester United's primary target. They couldn't agree a fee with PSG right at the start of the window. That's because PSG wanted around €60 million fixed fee for Manuel Ugarte. Manchester United wanted to negotiate. They were looking at other players as well, even Sofian Amrabat, who was on loan with them last season. Yusuf Fofana was a man that was mentioned. Sander Berge, who ended up going to Fulham. But he was the constant. Manuel Ugarte was the one that they wanted. And finally, the Uruguay international has joined Manchester United. He hasn't joined in time, unfortunately,
to play against
Liverpool, because he needed to be registered by midday today.
Yeah.
That didn't happen. But following the international break, Manuel Ugarte will be in that red shirt for Manchester United. Manuel Ugarte, a Manchester United player.
And you have to say, Dams, that Manchester United have had a brilliant window, because you look at what they've already got on the books. That's another one in through the books.
I think they went into the transfer window with priority positions.
Yep.
They thought the full-back area needed strengthening. Nusayr Mazraoui came in. He can play on both sides, in the right-back area and the left-back area. They knew that Rafael Varane was leaving, so they brought in Lenny Yoro, a young, up-and-coming centre-back. Real Madrid were strongly linked with trying to sign him, and United beat Real Madrid to his signing. And there was always talk about whether they were going to sign another central defender. And in the end, they did. They went in to Bayern Munich and signed Matthias de Ligt.
Yeah.
They wanted to bring in a forward as well. Joshua Zirkzee has come in, and
scored his goal.
Started off so well for United, and now the midfielder who they've been chasing the entire transfer window in Manuel Ugarte from PSG has finally arrived at Old Trafford.
Yeah, you'd have to say it's a great window. OK, look, speaking in the build-up to the game against Liverpool on Sunday, now Erik ten Hag was full of praise for this man, Ugarte.
He has grinta, and he will bring that. And I think it's a very good fit to Manchester United, a very good fit to this team, because this team need that controlled aggression. He's a very brave player, so yeah, we would be really happy. It's not finished yet, but it's expected that we will complete this deal by the end of the day, and I'm sure he will really contribute to our success.
Now, Scott McTominay's move to Napoli has now been confirmed. Earlier, Ten Hag admitted he's got mixed feelings about seeing the midfielder leave this summer, though.
In the end, is everyone happy with it? But it's mixed. It feels sad to lose a player who has Man United in every vein. He lives, he breathes Manchester United, and then he's on the age, is the best age in his football career. And then you lose him. You could see he scored 29 goals overall, but in the last season he scored 10. So he's in a really good run. He was in a really good progress, and yeah, it feels sad to lose him. But on the other hand, it was necessary. It was necessary for the club, and also Scott wanted to have a new challenge.
Well, United also announced the signing of the 18-year-old Sekou Kone this evening. The Mali youth international has joined from Guidas FC in his homeland Kone. A midfielder will initially be supported by the academy, allowing him to settle into life in Manchester. And you have to say, Jules, Manchester United have had a really, really positive window.
Yeah, they certainly have, haven't they? I think all eyes were on them, weren't they, with Ineos. First summer of them, since they invested in the club, what would they do? We'll talk generally about it shortly, Clinton, but let's just start with this breaking news. It's a name that United have been after for a while. They've got him, Manuel Ugarte. How much do they need to strengthen in that area, do you think?
Yeah, they need to strengthen in that area because they lost Scott McTominay, who did a good job, who knows the club inside out. He got a great move to Napoli. But this is a player, I don't know why it took that long, as Dharmesh said. I thought they would have got this deal done a few days ago, or if not earlier, so he could be involved against Liverpool. But he's a really good midfielder, combative midfielder, breaks up play and just gives it simple. He's not going to spray 40, 50-yard passes, but what he is, he's really effective in there. And they give the likes of Bruno and even young Kobe Mainoo to go and express themselves. But for me, it's a really positive signing. And Man United have had a good window, but I've seen a lot of him, and he's a top player.
I mean, how many times last season did we say it's just too easy to cut through that Manchester United midfield? Does he plug that gap?
Yeah, well, that's the reason that they've gone for him. Still only 23. Scott McTominay's gone out the door, who's been a great servant for Manchester United. I think you've got to remember that. And I think you go there, Clint, that was the reason why the deal never happened until that deal Scott had gone, and then it was done because it's 50 million euros with add-ons. But it does. We've always talked about the two midfielders with Manchester United. It's been too easy to get to the defenders, and then we criticise the defenders. But I think if you look at Mainoo in there, Casemiro's getting no younger. His legs have gone, so they need some energy in there. You've just touched on it, Clint. He's not going to be one of them players that's beautiful on the eye, start scoring goals, driving forward. What he's going to be, he's going to break things up. He's going to give the ball to Mainoo or Casemiro, whoever's playing in there alongside him. You would think he would go in because you just see the energy in Manchester United at the moment. I see the goal last week against Brighton. No one closes the ball down. Ball comes in the box. It's a goal on two occasions. So you need that energy in the middle of the park, and I think he'll certainly bring that.
So you've got Iwata coming in today. You've already had Joshua Zirkzee, Sue. You've had Lenny Yoro, who unfortunately got that early injury. Matthijs de Ligt, Nasser Mazraoui, Sekou Kone, as we heard, the young midfielder as well. They stood by the manager. They've backed him now, haven't they?
They've really backed him, and I think we were all speaking about, was the manager actually going to be there? It showed that, yes, he's there, and not only is he there, the club have certainly backed him and brought in the players that he clearly wants to add. I completely agree with Iwata. I think it's a position that they needed to strengthen, because so many times last season did we say teams were just going straight through the middle of that midfield. So he's certainly going to shore up that midfield area. I think when you look from a defensive perspective, I think bringing in Mazraoui can play both sides is key. De Ligt to cover. So they've brought in players where they needed to strengthen in those positions. So I think, yes, they've backed him, and you just think if Manchester United can keep everybody fit and available, they've got those competition for places, will they start to build?
Well, we'll see if they can begin that building process in the small matter of the Liverpool game this weekend. Super Sunday should be an absolute cracker, and of course before that, Super Sunday Match Day is here at 10 a.m. There's a new interview with Erik ten Hag. Darren Lewis will be in the studio. The Times football reporter Charlotte Duncan will be here. And she's waving at me. You can't see her. Yes, Vicky will be with you as well.
Yes.
And then the big game itself, live from Old Trafford. That is Super Sunday. United hosting their big rivals, Liverpool. Coverage from 3:30, Sky Sports Premier League.
It is always a Super Sunday. Right, Scott McTominay has completed his move to Napoli, but could his Scotland teammate be about to join him? Filippo Beninkampi is in Milan and ready to speak to us. Good to see you, Filippo. I don't know where to start, actually, because I think you've got some breaking news on Victor Osimhen. What can you tell us on that first, please?
Well, hi, Vicky, first and foremost. It's an awkward situation, the Osimhen one. We've been talking about Al Ahly and Chelsea, both interested in Osimhen. But at the moment, with time running out, Victor Osimhen is staying at Napoli, even though at the moment he is not in the project of Antonio Conte. So what can happen is that Osimhen staying in a team where he will not have any place. So difficult to explain, but at the moment this is the situation. Victor Osimhen staying at Napoli, but not playing any minutes as they brought Lukaku in, and Osimhen stays out of project in the Conte side.
Goodness me. So just to confirm, he's just going to stay put for the moment, even though potentially he won't be playing any football for Antonio Conte.
Apparently, yes. We got the chance to speak with Antonio Conte and understand more about Osimhen. He didn't know anything about the possibility that the deal could collapse, but apparently this is happening. And when asked, what are you going to do with Osimhen? He said, I don't know. He has never trained a fully session with us, so don't know what to do. And we had different plans. We brought Lukaku in. He's going to be the main striker. So yeah, the striker who won the league for Napoli 2 years ago after 30 years of wait, possibly staying at Napoli without playing, without a role in this team.
Goodness me, that is quite the story, isn't it? Look, I did ask you about Billy Gilmour, so I suppose I ought to still stick with that question as well. Filippo, what can you tell us about him?
Well, he has finally put pen to paper, so we can say Billy Gilmour is now a Napoli player, and he will join his Scottish teammate Scott McTominay, that, as you probably already seen, has been welcomed fantastically well by Napoli fans. A fantastic reception with thousands of Napoli fans at the airport, because they wanted to make him feel already part of this new adventure, new life. And Napoli is a city full of passion, and we are probably sure that he's going to enjoy his time. And Napoli, big change for McTominay as he grew up at Manchester United, and hopefully Billy Gilmour will get the same reception. But now it's not official yet, so it's not officially done yet, but yeah, he's put pen to paper, so this is definitely going to happen. Billy Gilmour to Napoli. There we
Okay,
land.
brilliant. Not quite confirmed yet, but the pen is on the paper, but the ink's not quite dry. Thank you so much, Filippo, for joining us this evening. Okay, I just want to reconfirm, though, that news that we heard there. Antonio Conte saying that he doesn't know what he's going to do with Victor Osimhen. I mean, it's an outstanding comment from Antonio Conte tonight. So what he does with Victor Osimhen is anyone's guess, because, of course, Lukaku is now in the door. So it remains to be seen what Victor Osimhen will do with those words this evening. Do stay with us, because it's hugely busy tonight. Up next, with the Old Firm just around the corner as well, live on Sky Sports this weekend. Celtic and Rangers have also been busy today. Find out what they've been up to next.
We're here at Chelsea thanks to EA Sports FC for a game of five-a-side with a twist. We have got João Felix and Levi Colwill. Lads, this is your team. João, starting with you, you've got the red team. What are your thoughts, João? Do you like what you see?
I like what I see, and I think I trust on them to win the game.
Ooh.
Make sure that they're not scrambling around trying to do deals before June the 30th to ensure that they can go into the summer and really go for it. So I think there could be an opportunity, if the right offers were to come to Chelsea, for a few of their players to be allowed to leave. I think they would listen to offers for the likes of Ben Chilwell, for Carney Chukwuemeka and Cesare Cazorla, and I don't think Enzo Maresca has made a secret of that. He's pretty upfront, is Enzo Maresca. When he's asked the question, if Ben Chilwell's been out of a squad, for example, for a few weeks, has he got a future here? Maybe he hasn't. Maybe we have to listen to offers in January. So I think, you know, while we speak about Mark Gahey, just keep an eye on potential departures at Chelsea as well.
Definitely. Mark, PSG's forward, Randall Kolo Muani, attracting interest. Is there a possibility he could go to Manchester United?
Certainly a possibility. I know Dharmesh has just mentioned it there, PSR. I'm not saying, again, Manchester United are in trouble with regards to PSR, but they certainly have to watch what they do. And as Ruben Amorim has mentioned a number of times, it may be a one-in, one-out scenario. They have to free up some cash to allow them to go into the transfer window. One player that they have been linked with, and it's